and say, "Hey, do you hear me? My guest, Joanne, can you hear me? I
Yes,
hear
I
you
could hear you.
typing." Okay. Now, you don't see
No, because I
Joanne on the
have a
screen
colleague that wanted to
because,
get on the
again,
show.
Joanne wanted to make sure that she did not have her face there, and that's perfectly fine. So, Joanne, you actually have a question. So, I'll go ahead with your question. Please move forward and ask it.
Yes, yes. I have a question. My question is, I was hired as a my title was at a technical program manager, but as far as I know, I was going to be a Scrum Master since they don't call it Scrum Master, they call it TPM.
Okay.
And then they bring me in.
Mm-hmm.
They already had the sprint started.
Okay.
However, every time we are about to start the next PI,
Yeah.
every time we about to start the next PI, every other Scrum team coming back and say, "Oh, we have a dependency on your team. It's a priority." And
Mm-hmm.
I was never introduced with the vision of the mission where we're going. We're supposed to be working a security project.
Mm-hmm.
My team is more like an IT team, but the project is for the security scope. As
Okay.
of today, I don't see the work breakdown structure.
Okay.
And the product owner, sometimes he's not aligned. He's not saying no. He's accepting everything in the backlog
Okay.
after a sprint already started.
Okay.
So right now,
Mm.
I have my first PI planning starting tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The product owner, I haven't met with him yet. We had a scrum with the other team. Everybody coming back. We have a priority. We have a priority. And then I asked today, isn't that priority supposed to be coming from the product owner? Why are you guys is coming? Oh, you guys have a priority for him to do. You have dependency on him.
Okay.
So how do I handle stuff like that with a product owner? Because he's like he's not learning to say no. How do I coach him?
Well, let's make sure that we're clear about several things here. So I have a couple questions for you. Okay. The first question is TPM. That stands for Technical Project Manager. Yes.
Well, my the title is technical program manager.
Technical Program Manager. Okay. All right. Great. 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 Which means that you're working at a higher level than a typical project. So that means you have several projects under you as a
So that
program
means
manager.
that
Is that
I have
correct?
two projects under me and I have
Okay.
two Scrum team.
Okay. All right. So,
They work in two different initiatives and they're not related to one another.
okay.
One is
Okay.
building the network and one is more on the security side.
Okay. All right. Good. Good. Understandable. Now, in terms of when you say PI planning, that harkens towards something that we know in our world called SAFe, the Scale Agile Framework. So, are you all using SAFe?
Yes, they're using safe.
Okay. And so, part of SAFe is to have release train managers, right? RTMs. Part of having SAFe is actually doing PI planning at particular junctions, like every 6 to 8 weeks or whatever that number is, right?
That is correct. That is
Okay.
correct. They're supposed to have a release train engineer, which I am the acting release train engineer,
Okay.
and I'm also they got me working as a program manager and sometimes a project manager. I'm not actually doing Scrum, which I was brought in to do.
Okay. And that's probably exactly where I'm about to take you. You're not really doing Scrum, you're actually doing a lot of coordination. And I want you to understand the significant difference between that coordination and in terms of Scrum. With Scrum, you obviously have a team that you're working with. And it sounds like to me, if I was to really boil things down and just think about you and what you're doing, and you tell me if I'm wrong or not, help me out so I can help everybody else out. When it comes to your product owner, does your product owner really have a choice on what they have to pull in?
Do they have a what?
Do they have a choice?
Do they have a choice?
Mm-hmm.
When you
So let me
say
just let
do
me
they
give you an example so then we're real clear. Okay. I have been on some efforts where we have had a Scrum team, and that Scrum team Ended up being probably like 3 scrum teams. But then we had another team that supported those 3 scrum teams. And that person had to do everything that these 3 scrum teams needed because they needed infrastructure and other things that needed to be done for them to do their work at a higher level, which turned my that one product owner, agile coach, scrum team, it turned them really into just an operational project where they had to just do everything that the other people needed to do because they really had no choice. Okay. It sounds like you may be caught up in that situation.
That's exactly where I'm caught up,
Okay.
because the team actually, I was giving a team, because everybody in the team, they have their role, what they're supposed to be doing, and they have
Mm-hmm.
the product owner assigned. It just now I got caught up in the middle where everybody said, oh, before, since my team is more on the endpoint side and the operation, they doing more like the endpoint work. So the
Okay.
team say, oh, before we could do this, we need your team to, we have a dependency on your team to do that.
Yeah. Now, here's the bigger question I would ask you. And if it was me, I would probably start by taking a couple of approaches. Okay. The biggest problem you have is always going to be with coordination of things because you don't have a lot of control over a ton of things. So you're going to have to figure out a way to establish that control. Okay. And when I say control, I'm not saying to you that you're trying to be a dictator. Okay. You're in a position where you can't really be a dictator. You're in a position where you're going to have to help out everyone else. Okay. You're going to have to help out everyone else in terms of doing their job, in terms of doing what they need to do. So the only way you really can truly get ahead of that is by working with them other teams a little closer. You may have to work with them to kind of map things out to some degree. Now, when I say map things out to some degree, get an idea of what's happening in the future. Now, understand, Joanne, nothing that I'm saying to you has anything to do with Scrum. It has everything to do with coordination. Okay. So I know you muted yourself, but I want you to come off of mute for just a minute. And I know we have a bunch of other
No, the
background.
reason I put you on because I'm hearing a lot of static.
Okay, no problem. I got you. So now I got another question for you. Um, do you have the opportunity with your product owner to actually plan ahead and work with those other teams to get an understanding of what's coming down the pipe for them? Can you do that? Because a big part of PI planning is so then you have an idea of what's coming down the pipe collectively. That's what PI planning is supposed to be a part of, right?
Yes. So the other team, they did give me all the stuff that's coming down the pipeline, a list of all the objective, all the feature
Mm-hmm.
that they need my team to deliver. So now tomorrow, and I know my product owner, he has a scope of stuff that he needs to focus on. So to me, I want him to say that, hey, can you handle this? Not only him could handle this. Do you have? Is I want the team to tell me, do they have the capacity plus the work we already have in our backlog plus those new work these people introduce, which are the highest priority, and do we have a capacity to do them?
Okay. I think that what you're really doing and what you will have to deal with is more coordination than anything else. The problem you have is that you're going to have to really take time and work with them through figuring out what is coming down the pipe in the next few sprints. That is going to help you. That will help you to eliminate your product owner always saying we have a new emergency, we have to do this, we have to do that, and you just want to get out of that emergency place where you're like, okay, we always got something brand new coming up, but you're always going to have different things coming up just as a part of what you need to do. So my statement to you is use PI planning to help you out tremendously. That's going to help you coordinate what's coming down the pipe. Now, what I would say to you is I would go and have a conversation with the product owner, like individually with the product owner, and say, look, us bringing things on all of a sudden, no problem. But can we find a way to limit that to where 50% of the stuff we have planned and 50% of our time is dedicated toward just new things that come up? That way we can get things done that have been planned for in PI planning and have room for all these new things that are kind of dropping inside on you. If you can do that, that would probably help you a whole lot. But that is going to be working closely. I mean, when I say working closely, think hand in hand with your product owner. You're going to have to get real close and start working with them on this because you want to position yourself to kind of sort of get ahead. But do you need all that stuff to be that way? You don't. If you can at least tackle 50% of it and say 50% of the stuff is planned while 50% of it is available for you to deal with unknowns, then you'll be in a much better position. And then as you're new now, you'll get better and better at that over time, and the planning and everything else will get better. So I do believe that you can deal with that, but just remember, Joanne, it is truly a thing of coordination for you. Okay. It's one of those things where you're not jumping heavy in the scrum, it is coordination. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes
Okay.
perfect
So
sense.
that was a good question. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you. It
Okay, well,
does.
I appreciate you calling. You are definitely welcome to call back. I know that you'll have more questions in the future. I look forward to hearing how this goes for you, and just stay in touch, okay? I appreciate you.
Thank you, Devon.
Have a
I
good one,
appreciate
okay?
that. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
Okay, everyone. That's one of those situations with Joanne where they're doing safe, and safe does require some coordination. Regardless of how you feel about safe, it doesn't matter to me. Is in her situation, she has several teams that have a need, and with several teams that have a need, you have to solve those problems. And we can go around and say to ourselves all day, hey, go do Scrum, go do complete Scrum, do more pure Scrum. But ain't nobody on the planet running absolute pure Scrum. Well, maybe there is somebody, but the idea is that I have rarely seen it. Now, that being said, her biggest problem is going to be around coordination. So we're dealing with that. I think she's going to have a tremendous amount of success, and then we'll be able to go from there.